Hey, Michael with XForcePC. I want to talk to you a little bit about the new Yoko yoke that's out. It's the Neo, the Yoko Neo, which is over here, and what the differences are between it and the previous Yoko. Now, the camera will tend to want to focus on my face, so I may look this way quite a bit so that the camera hopefully will focus on these. So, what are the differences? Well, the price is different. You're talking, if I think the full retail on these is $1,200 and $1,800, and so you're looking at a $600 price difference. So, what do you get for $600 ish? First of all, the obvious thing is the yoke itself. This is leather wrapped, or at least I shouldn't say leather for sure. Maybe it's a faux leather, but it's might as well be leather. And it obviously feels nicer. This is a hard plastic, and so it's a little more premium feel to it. Now, as far as controls go, as far as the trim, you've got elevator trim over here, and you've got elevator trim here. But one difference is this has two buttons for elevator trim. And as Austin explained it to me, this helps prevent a runaway trim situation. So if one of these buttons were to fail and get stuck in the up or down position, you don't have the trim wheel just sitting there spinning and spinning and spinning and causing you to crash. You have to push both of them. So both buttons would have to fail. So that is a difference. Here you just have the one. They both do have a button on the back side here. But yeah, a little bit different button feel. The one on the Neo is clicky. And for lack of a better term, sort of wobbly. I don't think that is any kind of like axis or anything. I think it's just sort of a wobbly button. This one is a flatter button and doesn't click. Also, here you have this hat switch is what I call these. This one is very clicky. It feels like basically this is a button in each direction you push it. Whereas this one feels like similar to an Xbox controller, except smoother. And what I suspect, and I haven't hooked this up yet to explain, that's going to come later, is that this is an axis, hopefully. We'll have to see how that works in explain. And then when you push on it, it's actually a button that clicks. I don't believe this one does that. No, it does do that. So it is a button when you push down on it. And again, it's a smooth, like an Xbox controller type thing. Now over on the right side, we have the same thing here. We have the aileron trim, and here we have two buttons for aileron trim. The same scenario I was talking about, a runaway trim situation. This is more accurate for the plane. You do have an extra button here on the top that you don't have here. And then on the back, there is an autopilot disconnect on both of these. Same button situation. This one is flat and has no click to it. This one is more rounded and has an actual click that you feel. You may also notice the housing is different. This one is just basically a box. This one has these rails on it, and what these rails allow you to do is they have these add-on modules, the Switcho family of products, which we haven't gotten terribly involved in. I need to revisit them. When they first came out like a year ago, there were some growing pains, and I kind of put them on the shelf, and I probably need to revisit that again. But this has the rails. You don't have to do this, obviously, but you could add the Switcho modules to the side of this. The mounting solution appears to be very similar between the two. Now, one big difference too is this goes this far. I don't know, what is that, 45 degrees? And also, when you get towards the ragged edge of the limit, it gets really hard right at the very end. And one thing I noticed on this one, which does 90 degrees, see, I can easily turn this and fully deflect it, whereas I had trouble on the other one. So this is a slower ramp up of tension, in my opinion. Now, speaking of tension, another thing they give you is, and I should have had this, I'm going to have to reach across here. They give you this bag of accessories here that I'm now going to make a lot of noise with. They give you some extra bungees, which of course won't come out. Now, on the inside of both of these, the resistance is controlled by bungee cords. And if memory serves, and don't quote me on this, but if memory serves, I think there's one bungee for roll and one bungee for pitch. But again, I might not quite have that right. Now on the Neo, you can there are multiple bungees for roll, and I believe there's also multiple for pitch. And then you can add and remove bungees, as we see here. And this one's color-coded to let you know where it goes. You can add or remove them and increase or decrease your resistance. So if you feel like you need more resistance, you add bungees. If you feel like you need less resistance, you remove them. And they give you the tools for that. As I make more noise, these little Allen wrenches they give you. And there's also obviously directions on how to take the cover off. And so they quote about a 20-minute process. That sounds about right. There's a number of screws to get out. And then it's pretty easy from what I saw. I read the directions on how to change out the bungees so you can so you get a more of a customized experience. They hooked the computer the same way. Again, I still need to test them in X-Plane and see, you know, I'm curious about how this hat switch works exactly compared to the regular Yoko. So then the big question becomes, is it worth about a third more money? Yeah, $1,200 versus $1,800, full price. You know, sometimes they have sales, but I believe that's the full price. And that's going to have to be something you answer yourself, because if you're barely able to scrape together for a Yoko, a regular old Yoko here, then it's probably not going to be in your budget to spend the extra $600. But if you're spending $20,000 putting together a fancy sim, the extra $600 for the Neo totally makes sense. I mean, it's a small percentage of the cost, and it's the main thing you interface with every single flight. There's no way around interfacing with the yoke on a flight. So there you go. There is the general overview, the not connected to a computer yet overview of what are the differences between these two yokes. And I'm sure there's some technical stuff like Hall effect, something another that are under the covers, but those are the obvious differences when you go to use these from day to day.